So you want to go out into nature. You want to go out in your van, your RV, your bus, your ambulance. But you want to know, what's the biggest challenge of going out and staying out for a long time? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about the biggest thing I find as a challenge for me to stay out in nature, stay out in my van for long periods of time. Now, what aren't problems? Well, I see a lot of social media, YouTube included, videos from people and posts from people saying, well, the biggest issue that I have is power, and you have to have solar panels, and click on the link below because you can buy my solar panels. Or you need more battery power, click on the link below. Well, you see, I've never had an issue with battery power. I've never had an issue with my electricity. I don't run a bunch of stuff. I don't run TVs. I don't run DVD players. I don't run computers constantly. I'm not gaming. So I don't have a big problem with power. Plus, whenever I start my van charges up my battery system here in the house. And I've never had a problem keeping that up. What are the other problems people say? Well, another big one is, I don't have enough fuel to go out for more than a day or two. Well, if you're out driving around all the time, if you're one of these people who doesn't sit still, that's constantly exploring everything in your vehicle, that may be a problem. But for me, I go out quite a bit. I go to areas that are pretty remote, and I've never had a problem with fuel. What do I do with fuel? Well, it's pretty simple. If I'm going out to an area that I know that there's no fuel at, I'll fill my van up before I hit that area. For instance, in the wintertime, I like to go to the Icefield Parkway. This is located in Alberta, Canada, between Lake Louise, Alberta, and Jasper, Alberta. And this parkway has one gas station on it in the summertime, and that's it. Halfway, that's it. But in the wintertime, there is no fuel stations on the parkway. So what do? Well, if you're heading up the parkway like I do, you stop in Lake Louise and you fill up gas. And just so happens there's a really cool bakery there, so you get some stuff at the bakery. And then you head up there. I can spend 2 or 3 days on the Icefield Parkway enjoying it, taking pictures, as long as I'm not being stupid with running my engine all the time, and I have no problem whatsoever. I can drive the parkway 2, 3, 4 times with a full tank of gas, and I still have no problems. So fuel up whenever you can, and you'll never have a problem. You don't need to buy all these fuel tanks to put on your vehicle and everything. But if you are going someplace like the Arctic or the Antarctic, if you're going down there, yeah, maybe that's a perfect time to fill up extra fuel. But I just don't see that being a problem for most people. Another thing that I hear people say a lot is, the biggest thing that I have is carrying enough food. Well, even with my small fridge, even with my tiny fridge, I don't have a problem carrying enough food. I carry stuff in my cupboard. I carry stuff in my fridge. I have some freeze-dried meals, and I can stay out for a week, even 2 weeks, with no problem whatsoever. So what's the biggest problem for me? Well, my biggest problem is water. I drink a lot of water. I admit I drink a ton of water, probably more than most people. And I find it an issue to carry enough water. Now, I'm not saying that I don't have any water. I have quite a bit. I have underneath my sink, which is directly behind where the camera is, I have a big water jug. That water jug alone can last me 2, 3, 4 days. I also, in the fridge, keep at least 1 liter of water cold at all times. So I've got that. Plus, as you can see over my shoulder, I have some of these collapsible jugs, which I think are probably the coolest thing and probably one of the best things to have as a camper, in that you can fill them up when you leave home. As you use the water out of them, they collapse down. When they're fully done, you're done. My biggest issue isn't, though, the filling up part. My biggest issue isn't planning for being out for a day or week, a month. What my biggest issue is going out and staying out longer than you expect. And for this, I've started carrying, and I hate to admit it, but I've started carrying water bottles. I have like 6 water bottles on board, and I carry them. People say, well, that's like environmentally not friendly. Well, you know what? I see people drinking 2, 3 things of Coke a day and throwing their cans in the garbage. Well, I'm sorry, but this, in order for me to stay alive and safe, is a small thing to do. So I carry extra, just bottles of water on board. And that just allows me to have that little bit of extra window, a little bit of extra leeway, so that I can stay out longer. The other thing that it does, and it happens quite a bit for me, is that a lot of times I will end up going out unexpectedly. So let's say it's early spring. Something all of a sudden is perfect. Maybe somebody phones me and says, hey, did you know that there's these animals out? I'll say, no, I didn't. So I'll hop in the van and I'll drive to photograph those animals. I won't take the time to fill up because it's still too cold to put all the water on board, and I'll head out, but I get out there and I go, oh, well, I'm thirsty. That's where these little bottles come in so handy. You can keep them in your vehicle. They even freeze in here. I keep them in my fridge actually in wintertime. They actually freeze in here, and I use them all the time. So if you're looking at getting out for longer, if you're looking at staying a little bit longer, carry as much water as you can, but also carry something just in case. And for me, my just in case is this. Now, a lot of people are going to put in comments that, well, why don't you carry a water purification system? Yeah, I could. But many of the areas I go, there's not water to get to purify. On the prairies of Alberta, there's just not a lot of water that you can pull over and find. A lot of places, it's not accessible. Maybe in a slough that's really muddy around the shore before you get to the deeper water. There's just not a lot of places. But a water purification system can work if you're in an area where there is water that you can purify. So that's what I do. Put in the comments down below what you do to be able to allow you to stay out for a little bit longer, and what's your biggest challenge when you go out. So we'll talk to you next time. Have a great day, and get out there and explore the great outdoors. Bye-bye now.